Hi, Medical Wildcats. I'm Joseph Guggenheim. I'm a 1972 alum of the medical school. And this month, my presentation is on the Deering family. Our school was almost named Deering University. 4 generations of the Deering family donated generously to our school, and the Board of Trustees repeatedly offered to change the name of Northwestern to Deering University. But for 4 generations, the Deering family politely declined the offer. So let's look at this amazing family. Let's look at the way the university was established beginning in 1850. In May 1850, 9 Methodist men met on the second floor of a hardware store in downtown Chicago to form a new university. Their aim was to establish an institution of higher learning that was comparable to those in the Northeast, the Ivy League schools, but would serve the people in the Midwest at a lower price. The site for the university was chosen by the group in 1853. They found a 379-acre site north of Chicago in the little village of Ridgeville. And they said this was the site for the new institution of sanctified learning. Much of the North Shore was swampy, but they found an area that was dry with beautiful oak trees. The site had been discovered by Orrington Lunt, one of the 9 founders of the university. They offered to change the name of Ridgeville to Luntville, but Lunt declined that offer. Lunt Hall was the original library for the Evanston campus and was named in his honor. It now houses the Department of Mathematics. The group then offered the naming rights for the village of Ridgeville to John Evans, one of the 9 original founders of the university. He did accept the offer to rename the village, so it was named Evanston. He was the chief of the department at Rush Medical College. He was a physician and an obstetrician. Years later, he opposed the formation of a second medical school in Chicago, believing that one school was sufficient. Let's look at the early history of Northwestern. As I said, the school began in 1850 with the decision to establish a quality university in the Chicago area. In 1855, the first class entered, comprised of 10 students, all male. In 1857, the town of Evanston was named. So Northwestern began before the town of Evanston was named. Evanston was incorporated in 1863. The medical school began as the medical department of Lent University in 1859. It had no affiliation with Northwestern at the time, but was affiliated with Lent University, which during the Civil War went bankrupt and was resurrected as Lake Forest College. The trustees voted to admit women to the university in 1869. William Deering was one of the early board members. He was an industrialist, philanthropist, and entrepreneur. He was a member of the Northwestern University Board of Trustees for 38 years and president of the board for 10 years, 1895 to 1905. He donated more than $1 million to Northwestern. And on several occasions, the board offered to change the name of the university to Deering University, but he repeatedly declined the offer. He was born in South Paris, Maine in 1826. This is a picture from a postcard, which it was dated about 1913. I don't know what it looked like when he was a youngster, but this is about 1913. He planned to pursue a career in medicine. Now, at that time, doctors often trained as apprentices under another doctor, or some of them went to medical schools. We don't know how he was actually trained, partially trained as a physician. The family operated a prosperous woolen mill in Maine. William apprenticed at the mill for $18 per month. In 1850, like many enterprising young men of the time, he left the East and went to the Midwest, to Iowa and Illinois, to seek his fortune by investing in farmland. In 1856, he returned to South Paris to set up a dry goods store. And his family prospered during the Civil War by making the coats and trousers for the Union Army. He was a brilliant businessman, but did not turn away from his ambition to pursue medicine until his father faced financial reversal after the Civil War. After the war, there was no demand for his jackets and trousers any longer. So William became a successful woolen wholesaler with offices in Maine and New York. The business was named Deering, Milliken and Company. In 1870, he went back to the Midwest and moved to Evanston. He disdained pretension and publicity, unlike his competitor in the reaper business, Cyrus McCormick. They both had a reaper business, and they were competitors. Deering lived with his Puritan background in Evanston, surrounded by his fellow Methodists, but McCormick lived among family members in the fashionable McCormickville area, a stately area that later became part of River North. This is the area that is west of our medical school, around Huron Street, Ontario, and Rush, the North-South Street. There are still some of the McCormick mansions in that area. William Deering had an old friend and Methodist pastor, Elijah Gammon. He convinced Deering that he, Gammon, had a reaper that was superior to any Cyrus McCormick had built. His reaper had been developed by the Marsh brothers, Charles and William. Gammon's health was deteriorating, and he wanted to get out of the ministry and focus on agricultural machinery. So he convinced Deering to join him. In 1870, Deering left the wool business to partner with Gammon, who had just bought the rights to a horse-drawn reaper. Deering had $40,000 set aside that he was going to invest in real estate in the Midwest, but instead he changed his mind and invested it in Gammon's company instead. In 1873, they changed the name of the company to Gammon and Deering. In 1875, Deering bought out Gammon and moved to Chicago, where he undertook the manufacturing of an improved twine binder for use with the harvester. The grain could be harvested, but there was a problem with tying it up to ship it. Gammon and Deering were personal friends. Gammon had been a Methodist pastor and founded the Gammon Theological Seminary in Atlanta in 1883. In the agricultural machinery business, he became quite wealthy. This is the pair of seals for Northwestern and the Gammon, and you can see the resemblance of these two friends' institutions. The seal for Northwestern is the current seal. It was modified in 1890. I could not find a picture of the original seal, but I read a description of it, and it did not have the Greek writing in the open book, nor did it have the sunburst pattern around the book. So before 1890, the two seals resembled each other even more. Deering had to search for a better binder for the crops. McCormick did not have an efficient binder for his harvested crops, but Deering developed an improved twine for the binding. Prior to his development of the binding, metal wire was used for binding. The metal would break and livestock would swallow it, causing serious injury. Previously developed plant-based bindings, such as the hemp from the Philippines or twine from Mexico, would break, rot, or be eaten by insects. The picture on the right shows a book that was written by International Harvester, The Story of Twine. I've seen this book, and I think they have found a cure for insomnia. Deering experimented with plant-based twine that was sufficiently strong and insect and rot resistant. He found a company in Philadelphia that would make this rope for him to his specifications. And this shows a picture of the twine manufacturing. He moved his factory to Chicago in 1880. Deering had no farming experience and no mechanical background, but he was constantly introducing improvements in machinery, including the first self-propelled harvester. Prior to that, the harvesters were pulled by horses. He later said, "I didn't know the appearance of our own machine." Cyrus McCormick realized that William Deering lacked mechanical skills, but was a better businessman. So merger talks began between the two companies in the 1890s. And by 1902, the two companies had merged to start the company International Harvester. The Deerings received 37% ownership of this company. The McCormicks received 43%, and the three smaller companies that were part of the merger divided up the other 20%. Cyrus H. McCormick was son of the original Cyrus. He became president of the new corporation, and Charles Deering, William's older son, became chairman of the board. The company made machinery under the names of the original companies and maintained most of the original dealers. In 1920, it introduced a new line of machinery called McCormick Deering, and this name was used until the Second World War, when the Deering was dropped and the name just included McCormick. William Deering served on the Northwestern University Board of Trustees for 38 years and was president for 10 years, 1895 to 1905. He made more than 40 bequests to Northwestern. He and his descendants declined offers by the Board of Trustees to change the name of the university to Deering University. He also donated generously to Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary, which is adjacent to our Evanston campus, when he became president. He funded the construction of Fisk Hall on the Northwestern campus. And in 1904, he established the Deering Orphanage in Lake Bluff, Illinois, just north of Evanston. William had two sons and a daughter, and they were all philanthropists. The daughter, Abby, was a very private person, and we don't know what the recipients of her generosity were. By the mid-1920s, Northwestern had outgrown the small Lunt Library, and after the death of William's older son, Charles, in 1927, the family agreed that a library would be a fitting tribute to him because of his love for books. His widow and the family raised more than $1 million to establish the library with generous gifts from the Deerings, McCormicks, and Danielson families. The architect for this project was James Gamble Rogers, who was the architect for the Ward Building, Abbott Hall, and Dyke Stadium, which is now Ryan Field. Opened in 1933, the library soon became overcrowded. It was replaced by the University Library in 1970. The Deering Library now houses certain special collections as listed below. It's closed right now for renovation. And this is a picture of the library looking from Sheridan Road eastward toward the lake. And you see the library, which was inspired by the chapel at King's College in Cambridge, England. And the grassy area in front is what is known as Deering Meadow. Charles was William's older son. He became board chair with the merger with the McCormick's company, which occurred in 1902. He remained chairman until he retired in 1910. He was interested in the Navy and graduated second in his class at the Naval Academy in Annapolis. He developed a love for Spanish art and wanted to open an art museum in Spain. He did extensive genealogical research on the Deering family, and he lived in Evanston. This is a portrait of him painted by John Sargent Singer. James Deering, his younger son, endowed Wesley Memorial Hospital in 1914, but it was not built until 1940. The hospital was a memorial to James' sister, Abby, and to his father, William, not to John Wesley, who was founder of the Methodist Church. James, the younger son, attended Northwestern for 1 year, but he developed pernicious anemia. His doctors urged him to move to a warmer climate, so he moved to Florida. He built a 72-room palace in Coconut Grove, Florida, where he housed his extensive art collection, and this is now open as a museum for visitors. Roger Deering was the next generation. Most of William's estate, the patriarch of the family, went to the sons Charles and James. Roger was the third generation, grandson of William. He donated more than $7 million to Northwestern in 1936, which at that time was the largest gift to higher education since George Eastman of Eastman Kodak Company left $14 million to the University of Rochester. This was the 70th gift from the Deering family, totaling $10.3 million. Roger did not go to college. He had tuberculosis since he was a teenager and was bedridden, but he was reputed to be quite smart financially, and he knew when to get out of the stock market before the 1929 crash. And then the fourth generation of the McCormicks to uh, be on the board of Northwestern was Charles Deering McCormick. He served on the board of trustees. He continued the family philanthropy by contributing more than 16 million to the university library and the special collections, and he endowed 10 professorships. What a family. This is the family plot at the Graceland Cemetery in Chicago, which is, and their family plot is near the McCormick family plot. Well, let's get together again next month for a virtual meeting, and hopefully you are enjoying fall wherever you are with cooler, brisk weather and the beautiful foliage as seen in this aerial photograph of Lincoln Park.